Welcome back. We are on chapter 11 of Flying Solo. We're actually going to do chapter 11 and chapter 12. Chapter 11 is 10:30 a.m. music. Uh-oh, time for special. Oh, goodness. Time for specials. 10:30 a.m. music. Are we going to do a share? Vicky asked. Can't, Jordan said, pointing at the clock. Computer lab. No, we did computer lab yesterday, Karen said. Music. Fact, Christopher said. We better go before they come hunting for us. Just go? Jasmine asked. With no teacher? You don't think that's sort of obvious? Not if we're super quiet in the halls, Karen said. Yes, Miss Ballard, sir, Christopher said. He saluted her smartly. Very funny, Karen retorted. Hey, I mean it. We've got to make zero noise or somebody's going to notice. We've got to be invisible. Better suck in your gut, Bastion said, nudging Missy. Leave her alone, Rhonda said, smacking him on the arm. Wonder if being too quiet is going to be a problem. I was just kidding, Bastion said. Can't you take a joke? It's not funny, you idiot. Quiet, Karen said. The kids filed out of the classroom. Rachel walked along the hallway of polished linoleum, long and perfectly smooth. For a miniature airplane, this hall would make a perfect runway for taking off or landing. She watched the line of students ahead of her. They all kept their eyes facing straight ahead as they filed down the hall. Even their footsteps seemed strangely muted as they moved over the linoleum past the other three sixth grade classrooms and down the stairs. The column made a smooth right onto the central corridor and then another right into the all purpose room that was used for music. Inside, Mrs. Ickeringill, the music teacher, was waiting for them at the piano. She was a stocky, red faced woman wearing glasses and a button that read, Music is my life. Welcome, she said. Please take your places, boys and girls. Chop, chop. Come now, we don't have much time. Class 6238 assembled on the riser, sopranos to the left, altos to the right. Rachel had no intention of singing, but she took her place with the altos as she always did. Wedging herself between Missy and Jasmine, Rachel got a mental image of Tommy Feathers, face bright red and eager, singing in last year's winter concert. He sure loved to sing. It didn't seem to matter to him in the least that he couldn't carry a tune in a bucket, as they say. Mrs. Ickeringill played a few piano notes to the song, a stirring melody with lyrics taken from the poem on the Statue of Liberty. Rachel stood quietly as the kids began to sing around her. Today their voices combined to make a clear, strong sound. I'm not singing this, I will speak it. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Wonderful, Mrs. Ickeringill cried. She sat up and looked at them surprised. You've got spirit today. You've got juice. Again, let's take it from the top. They sang it again, and the song sounded even more beautiful than before, so much so that Rachel could feel the beginnings of a sound rising from deep buried place at the bottom of her chest, itching to join in, and it was everything she could do to keep that sound down. Seems like that would have been a perfect opportunity to start singing. That's the end of music class, chapter. What did we say that was? Chapter 11. We are going to continue on with chapter 12, which is 11:13 a.m. snack. Favorite time of the day. Back in room 238, kids took out their snacks along with their math books. In her backpack, Rachel found carrots and, yes, a bag of vinegar and salt flavored potato chips. She knew the chips were bad for her, full of fat, laced with chemicals and dye, almost green colored, but she didn't care. And today, Mom gave her an extra large bag. She opened it, took out a bunch, and offered it to Missy. Oh, I can't, Missy sighed. My mom's got me on another diet. Rachel glanced beyond Missy's desk to where Sean was sitting. She noticed that today there was no snack on his desk. While the kids around him chatted and ate, Sean busied himself with rummaging through his desk. Rachel looked at Missy, offered the bag of chips, and motioned with her eyes at Sean. Oh, yeah, sure, Missy said, taking the bag from Rachel. Hey, Sean, you want some of these? From Rachel. Thanks, he mumbled. He took a bunch of chips from the bag and passed it back to Rachel. A month ago, Rachel had to meet with the school psychologist during snack time. She'd bring a small bag of carrots or celery and sit outside Mr. Snickenberger's office until he called her to come in. He was a tall, bearded man who wore bright, ugly ties, but he always had a fresh bowl of salt and vinegar potato chips on his desk. She'd munch those chips while he asked questions. How would you describe your relationship with your mother? How long have your parents been divorced? Did you become interested in flying around the time when your father moved out? How did you feel about Tommy Feathers? And how do you think he felt about you? Did he ever touch you or try to kiss you? Sometimes she answered his questions with written notes, but mostly she just listened, nodded, or shook her head and savored those chips, the delicious chemical tang they left on her tongue. I don't like them, she wrote to her mother. I don't like him, she wrote to her mother one night while sitting at the kitchen table. Why not? Can't stand those gaudy ties? He gives me the creeps. He acts like he knows stuff about me. I don't know. Mr. Snickenberger was pleasant with her for the first few weeks, but as time passed, he began losing patience with her silence. One day he asked her a series of questions, and when she didn't reply, the man suddenly exploded. I'll tell you what I think, he said with an angry face. I think your obsession with flying is your attempt to fly away from your problems. Well, it won't work, young lady. One thing you need to learn, you can't run away from your life. That's a lesson you better learn sooner than later. That marked her last session with Mr. Snickenberger. But even though she stopped seeing him, she had no intention of giving up those salt and vinegar potato chips. Now she took one last handful of chips and passed the bag to Missy with a gesture that said, finished. Here, Missy said, handing the bag to Sean. You can have the rest. Rachel saw that pleasure in Sean's eyes, and she's glad she left him out. She was glad she'd left him a lot. Wow, Mr. Snickenberger. Interesting. And that is the end of that chapter.